What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about my thoughts on the Battlefield 6 beta. Was able to play it for several hours, and I'm not saying I'm very good at it. I kind of range. Sometimes I can be pretty elite, and then sometimes it just absolutely crushes me. But I do have thoughts as to the overall beta and just, is Battlefield back? That's the question I feel like everybody online would bring up when we go into this beta. Obviously, pretty important, right? What happened with 2042, and they need a bounce back, and can this be a bounce back? So let's just get out of the way early. So far, I think it is. I think if they stick with this, I think if the game reflects this, obviously there's more things coming, whether it's single player, whether it's the Battle Royale, whenever these things, by the way, there was rumors of the single player not being ready, but they've never said anything. So, whether we get all of these things the release day or they come out after, the game is looking really good. And for me, it kind of goes, it's like two different parts. One is like the Battlefield experience, and the number two is maybe like the game performance in and of itself. I mean, this game, beautiful. I mean, I spent the weekend playing Mafia: The Old Country and Battlefield 6, and I mean, I was blown away by both of them. The scenery in Battlefield 6, I mean, like looking out to the distance to see the mountains or like the forest on fire, right, in the one map, like it truly is a sight to behold. It looks so unbelievably good. And here's the thing, all right? The game looking good is one thing. The game looking good and then running like complete trash would be something else, okay? And what I'm pleased to report on from like the technical and performance side, I was playing on PS5, okay? I feel like consoles would be a pretty good baseline. I feel like PC, you'd be able to tweak this thing kind of however you want it, no matter what. But like PS5, okay, solid enough baseline. The game looks beautiful, whether it is the characters, whether it's the environment, whether it's the destruction that we'll talk about in a second that looks unreal. And then also, the game itself runs extremely well. I told a friend of mine when we were playing this last night, if the game came out in this launch state, would it be perfect? No. There's a couple times I got a couple bugs and I was trying to like back out of a match and it literally would not let me. So I would go to like quit to main menu and it would just stick me there. There were times where I entered a brand new loading screen on the main menu I'd never seen before, and it was the game literally like confusing itself. It wasn't letting me, advance. So was it perfect? No. But was the launch state of Battlefield 2042 worse than the open beta of this game? 100%. I think this game actually ran really, really well, and they were flooded. I mean, they had to have had millions of people playing concurrently amongst PC and then consoles. It had to have, I think, crossed or at least gotten close to 1 million plus. So the fact that it could hold all of that and honestly perform really, really well. There was no frame rate issues. There was no lag. Truly, in all of the matches I played, it ran really, really well. And there's a lot going on in these matches, right? So I wanted, I spent a lot of time talking about it. But look, that's the launch day experience. That's what I need it to be. That's what the community needs it to be on launch day. If it came out and it ran like 2042 or if this was like a Cyberpunk situation, yes, it could bounce back. But for a game like this and a franchise that's had the past couple years, multiple years that this franchise has had, it cannot come out in a bad state. And so I think this is a really, really good sign. And then there's the game itself. Now, look, again, like maybe I'm not the greatest judge because I'm not really all that great at this. I think, again, at my best, I can go like 20-5, maybe 25-30-5. At my worst, I'm break even, or I can go like 10-15, so it's like, all right, I mean, I'm okay at this game. I thought it handled extremely well. Like I was having fun. There were some moments, where the team would just completely disintegrate and they would have a stranglehold on us and they would have snipers perched on every single angle you can imagine so you couldn't move. I was seeing some of that online where it's like I think the more people have gotten a hold of these maps and kind of figured out, like there might be a little exploiting going on some of these maps. So that's something that they're going to have to look at the data and see, hey, like, is this fair? Or do we have to kind of restrict certain movements or certain areas? Again, that's for them to kind of figure out. But I had a blast, and I think, at its best, it felt like Battlefield. Now, that's one thing, like, before the beta started, or before I got into the beta, I should say that, I saw people talking about that some of these felt more like COD than Battlefield. And then, I was going in, and I kind of had that in my mind where it's like, okay, well, why are people saying that? I don't think I would ever say the game is more Call of Duty than Battlefield, but 2 of the 3 maps heavily emphasize like the ground, more like infantry, more boots on the ground. There is still tactics. There's still the classes, which, by the way, classes, amazing. I would say that strategy with those classes, great. The freaking drag and heal is maybe the single greatest creation that we've ever put into a first-person shooter. I cannot believe that Battlefield has never tried that before. And honestly, that helps because, yeah, some of these matches or maps are literally they're pretty condensed. You know, I found it a little disappointing when I would go on some of them and say, oh, like, where's the aerial, warfare? And I think it's only one map that you can actually get into. And I mean, look, I'm not a good driver. You get in a helicopter with me, we're not making it out alive. I'll just say that, all right? So I'm not defending and saying, oh, I need to always be in a helicopter. No. I just feel, and I've said this before, the ultimate Battlefield experience to me is boots on the ground. There's battles breaking out at like 2 or 3 different capturing locations, okay? Then you have like the ground vehicles. So you got tanks going, you got all these vehicles like whizzing by you, right? Where it's an issue. If you run into a tank, you have to like rethink your strategy. And then also you look up and you see freaking dogfights going. Like that to me is Battlefield experience at its peak. That's Battlefield 3, 4 kind of era to me. I really only got that in one map. Now, again, like that's one map. The game is going to launch with many more than we were able to play in the beta. And I think they went through the maps. I mean, there's several bigger ones. So I'm not saying like, oh, the game's screwed because it doesn't have, aerial warfare in all of the map. It feels like it's not balanced. Like there's literally more maps without it than there is with it. But that's just this beta, right? And when the game launches, I think it'll be kind of more evened out. But I'll say this, even not on that map, that's the big, like the snowy mountain one, even not on that, I was still having fun. It's still an absolute blast, like being in a location, fighting for your life for, a capture point, and you do see tanks, and you have that, the destruction makes up for a lot of it, right? Because that's also kind of classic Battlefield. Even if there's not kind of all 3 levels of warfare playing out, you could be in a freaking building, which I was, and all of a sudden it starts collapsing on you, because a tank shot it, and you have to like back out of it at the very last second to avoid it crumbling on you. Those moments matter in a game like this. On top of it just feeling, in my opinion, good. That's probably the least of my concern, and also the thing that I feel the least comfortable. Like, I just want to be honest with you guys. Like, that's the thing I'm least comfortable like giving my expert opinion on, because I'm not an expert, right? It's like you could watch 1,000 other people that are better at first-person shooters than me. I thought it functioned well. I thought all the different guns, like the classes, like I think there was good balance there, okay? But in terms of like everything else, did it give me, and I think the most important thing, did it give me that overall Battlefield experience? I think at its peak, it gave me that and more because of all the new stuff and just, it kind of going crazy in that regard. At its worst, it still did feel a lot like Battlefield because you still have that destruction, you have the classes, you have that strategy. It still felt like Battlefield even when it wasn't all elements of fighting kind of going on. So I had a blast. Sometimes I get in my own head and I really suck for a couple matches in a row and it's not really all that fun. I think that's just a shooter for you, right? When you're feeling good, when you're getting like 3, 4, 5 kills in a row, which I did several times, you're like, oh, you're riding high, right? Like it's the greatest feeling of all time. Then you'll have a match where like nothing goes right? You suck, your squad sucks, the team sucks, like just everything is bad. I mean, that happened to me as well. So, kind of back and forth there. But that's that, look, I mean, that's on me, that's on the team. I'm not going to blame Battlefield for that. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.